What's going on, dude? I'm glad you come out today.
What's up, man? How you doing, man?
Doing good. It's good to see you, buddy. It's been a minute since we've been able to hop on one of these little podcasts.
Yeah, so last time was what, October or something around that way?
Give or take, something along that line. We were doing some for Torrey, I'm Nathan, back then during football season and everything. The last time you were on this podcast is when, September of 22 or something like that, bro.
22. Wow.
Yeah, we talked a little bit of your time in Iraq. That was a good time, and if you haven't saw that, I would definitely say go back and look at that a little bit, dude. Man, it's good to see you doing well after a couple of weeks ago. Your 49ers went back to the Super Bowl, but
they did
ran into their kryptonite, it seems.
And like I told you before, man, they are the kryptonite, I guess, because this is our second Super Bowl. We lost to them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna go to the Super Bowl, you need to win. If not, don't even bother going. Yeah, you should have just lost to Green Bay if we was gonna do all that.
Dude, I know when the Rams made their run a few years ago, because everybody was talking, when we went and got Matthew Stafford, it was like, hey man, this is the Rams year, and I hate that pressure. Yeah. I absolutely hate that. North Carolina last year in basketball, when everybody came back, all the super seniors, everything came back, Caleb and Armando, RJ, everybody came back, Leaky. They were like, oh, it's championship or bust. I cannot stand that.
So much pressure.
Dude, it is. And every game, you're just sitting there on pins and just, oh, man, if we win. And you got to feel like the players have probably got to feel that way, too.
Yeah, definitely. I think some of that has affected games this season.
Yeah.
Just to, you might not have a great game, but then it gets worse because of that pressure. And the other team, opposing team, takes advantage because nobody's looking for the opposing team when you're the hot team and you're the team that's supposed to do it all. So they're not looking for it. So they love it. They'll go and get you.
Oh, dude, I think that's why like the college basketball, March Madness tournament that we're getting ready to go into right here in just a few short weeks, is so crazy because you got one seeds that'll, twice now it's happened, a 16 seed beating a 1 seed and everything else. It's the love of sports, man, and you honestly, everybody can say, oh, it's your championship to win that year, or you're favored to go do this, or maybe you're the prize fighter in the big fight, but you never know when somebody's going to just throw a roundhouse and knock you straight out. Right. And you love it and you hate it at the same time, especially when you're that team.
I love it.
Well, your 49ers have been that team for a while now. They're that team that's knocking people out left and right and moving themselves on down the chain, to prosperity. They've been contending legitimately for what? Since 2019, I believe. That's when y'all went
consistently. So
that's when y'all went to the first Super Bowl against Kansas City, and then got to the NFC title game against us. Yep. Back-to-back NFC title games. Got the championship this year, the NFC championship, and then Super Bowl again this year, dude. So, that's it. I know as a fan, it's got to be a little tight right now.
It sucks, man. It ain't tight. It sucks.
I believe it.
Because, I've been a fan for a while. Yeah. And when we went back for the first time since 95, I think, in 2012, I was like, oh, man, we got to get this. We got to get this. When we played the Ravens, and we fell short, man. Yeah. And it's just like everything that goes wrong with us. And it's just like,
you sound like a Cowboys fan right now.
we're losing like Cowboys. That's what it feels like.
I don't know. At least y'all can get to the NFC Championship game.
NFC Championship, the Super Bowl. We're not losing in the divisional round, but we're the ones that beat Cowboys
the wild card.
In the wild card round. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cowboys. Yeah.
Don't you love them, man? They're the gift that keeps on giving, bro. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Have you saw recently where it was like Micah Parsons' brother and what was it? CeeDee Lamb's mom and whatnot was getting on Dak recently? Like
getting on Dak.
Like tweeting about him on Twitter or X now, whatever it's called. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Oh, dude, yeah. They're like, oh yeah, this guy isn't it, and this, that, and the fourth. The brother of Micah Parsons and the mother of CeeDee Lamb was doing these things on Twitter.
And they're talking about who?
Talking about Dak. Dak can't get it done. He's not the guy. Micah Parsons come out and said my brother's comments are his own, but never like everybody's like debating like, oh, he never said that. He doesn't feel that way. He never like said that. And then they got on a podcast together and still kind of beat around the bush a little bit. And it kind of felt forced that they were like, oh yeah, Dak can do it. Dak can do it. And you could tell it felt forced. It wasn't natural.
Yeah, he's never going to say that in public while he's on the same team. No, why would you? That's just what is it? Public
service, like talking about that PA move or something like that, basically.
It's PA nightmare or whatever.
Yeah.
So you will never find him doing that. But if you could sense it, if you could tell by body language and the way you're saying stuff,
no joke,
that's what he thinks.
Yeah, pretty
much a lot of people think that.
Yeah, if there's enough smoke, there's got to be fire somewhere.
Look, I was in the realm of Tony Romo, and I thought how people think about Dak, I thought about Tony Romo. I'm like, why is this guy here again?
Yeah.
And then they gave him Tony Romo that big contract. I'm like, what did he prove?
He proved that he can be best buddies with the owner.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, so, no, I mean, Dak's a good quarterback, but he's not going to be the guy that's going to take you to that championship.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. What you been up to recently, man? I hadn't spoke to you in a little while. You've been busy, been out there, Ubering? Uber. What's that like, dude?
Man, it's the greatest thing in the world, man.
So I remember back when, a few years ago, you were on the other team, Lyft. Yeah. You were doing Lyft there for a while, and you were doing Lyft Chronicles.
Yes.
So, I mean, tell me, like, what was that? What inspired you to do the Lyft? What were the Lyft Chronicles, and what inspired you to do that? Like,
so all the Lyft Chronicles was just me telling my stories about the passengers that I was driving around, right. And it just mainly focused on them. The reason I came out with Lyft Chronicles because I had so many instances where they was either drunk or they did this weird, crazy things. I mean, I was driving at night most of the time. Like, that was my part-time job, and I would drive, on the weekends at night from like 9 to 4 or 5 in the morning. And you get the term freaks come out at night, kind of sort of thing. And that, you had the drunk people, you had the people being mysterious and going different places. You had, interactions that just,
some
was
very
funny,
interesting dressed people from what it sounds like sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I mean, you just had them all. And I just had to tell my story, man. I mean, today, I got a story for you today.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
hit me with it. Go ahead.
Middle of the day, I do Uber now, and I do middle of the day, and that's more safer.
Yeah.
I really try to stay away from the night. And that's because I done got older and got sleepy, and because, stay away from the freaks. So, but middle of the day, I pick up this guy named Charlie. Now, I don't care about using the name because there's a million Charles out here. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Pick him up, and I usually do Rock Hill, and I picked him up from Avis on Anderson Road. So I pick him up, and, he's starting to talk to me. He's a little really friendly or whatever. Some people are not as friendly or they're not as talkative, but he's talking to me, and he was like, yeah, I live in Rock Hill. And I was like, he's like, where are you from? I'm from Lancaster. He's like, oh, man. I had a church meeting with some guys that's down in Lancaster. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he was like, well, they really from Chicago. I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, yeah, I don't know why they chose Lancaster or whatever. And I was like, yeah, just laughing. And, I try to laugh and try to engage him. If you want to talk, then we're going to talk.
Do you do the fake laugh like
yeah. Oh, yeah, you got it. I done worked on it. I perfected it. So
that's good.
I think so.
That's good.
Yeah. So he's saying, we're beginning to talk, and then he was like, yeah, those guys, they want to say Lancaster. Now, that's a thing with us.
Yeah, that is a big thing
natives. We say Lancaster. People outside the area says Lancaster.
Yeah.
And, Charles had to correct them. Like, no, this is Lancaster. That's how we say it. And then he said one of the guys, now remember, Chicago, north, right?
Right.
He said one of the guys was like, man, I spent 2 months in Lancaster trying to correct people to say it the right way, and I just gave up after 2 months. And then Charlie hits me with this joke. I guess it was a joke, and he was like, yeah, you won the war, but you can't change the way we talk. And I was sitting there in the driver's seat like, was that supposed to be fun? And, I hit him with the fake laugh. Yeah. And I'm sitting there like, was that racist? He just gave me a Confederate joke. That's what he did.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, who is this we you're talking about, Charlie? Because I'm not involved. I don't know what you got going on. So
you don't have a dog in the fight.
Right. And so I was like on the edge a little bit, but I was like, he's harmless. I'm going to get him to his destination. And then he was like, yeah, I'm glad you're from Lancaster, man. There's not too many of us good old Southern boys. And I'm like, wonder why, Charlie. Why there's not too many of us around, man? But he's a fun guy. He was just, he didn't mean no harm, He was just talking, man. And, I took him to his destination. But
you should have said, just randomly, like, man, I'm from New York.
I mean, that was his problem. Like, he was like, man, all these people coming to Lancaster for what? Outside people from up north coming down south. And he didn't understand why. But, it was a decent conversation. And those are some of the interactions that I get. You never know what you're going to get. The person that you're going to have riding in the backseat of your car. And then when they want to talk to you, they're going to let you have it, man.
They're probably little chatterboxes, man. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could do that, man. I don't know if my patience for that would be as that. Because, I mean, I at some points in time, like, with me on the road, driving UPS, I'm able to, all right, I can be by myself for a little bit. I've always been kind of I guess you say a lone wolf in a sense. Yeah. I've always kind of liked that style. But you get me around a bunch. I mean, you worked together on many different occasions, and you saw me around a whole bunch of people for a long, extended period of time.
Yeah.
My clock and my ticker runs out at some point in time.
I'm the same way, brother.
And I'm ready to fight something at some point in time. And
I'm the same way, brother. The good thing about Uber is, the way I do my routes and the way I stay in Rock Hill, and that's shorter routes. And so the time you're looking at maybe 5 to maybe 10 minutes in the car, and then they're gone. So they'll chat, and then next thing you know, you're pulling in their driveway, dropping them off, and you're gone.
Yeah.
And so now I got a little bit of time for myself before I have to get to the next person. And then at the same time, if I want to get offline, I hit one button, I'm offline, if I need to. And that's the good thing about, Uber and rideshare, stuff like that, So you can get offline, get on when you want to.
I mean, what do you think about, things like Uber, Grubhub, Uber Eats,
DoorDash,
all these little subscription services, even like Walmart Deliver?
Yeah.
I've noticed that. So Mom ordered some stuff to the house the other day, and I was rolling up after work, and I saw this random car with random people getting out and like going to my front door, and I'm like, hello, who are you, brother?
How many people was it?
It was two. It was two different people, and they were not dressed in any type of Walmart attire. It says, hey, I'm Walmart. It's just two random people backed up to the carport door, opened up a van, and we're getting it. And I said, I'll roll up on this.
Uh-huh.
I'm observing this from about like 50 feet, and I'm I'm surveying it, and I'm like, okay, I don't trust you. Like, who are you? And I'll walk up like ready just to fight, and I see, they've got my Frosted Flakes, and I'm like what? Who are you? We're Walmart. What?
Walmart.
But dude, what do you think? Subscription services like that and these little spot businesses that are popping up are doing for people that are kind of like myself that don't want to work a 9 to 5. Like you've told me, like I'd rather get away from the 9 to 5 if I can help it, be my own boss. What do you think that's like for people nowadays? Because it seems to be a trend people are getting into now.
Yeah, it is a trend. Because people are tired of the 9 to 5. Simply, I think more businesses, it's more of a contract kind of thing.
Yeah,
you're not really an employee. That's good for the person like me.
Independent contractor.
That's good for the person like me because I don't really have a boss, so to say. I can go in, go out when I need to, make my own schedule. And then on the corporate side, you don't really have to have insurance that much for the the contractor. They're not under you. There's certain laws you don't really have to abide by. Because they're not your employee. They're just contracted. What holds you, that person, and that contractors together is the contract for service. And so I think it's good on both sides, and that's why it has been able to trend and be so successful. Lyft and Uber started out back in 2013, 14.
Yeah.
And they just grew. They grew big, and then you had all these other services, the Grubhub and DoorDash and all that. And if you do it right, and if you really work these jobs, you can actually make a decent amount of money. You know, I've heard a lot of DoorDash people make good money because of what they have is surge time,
right?
And where it's a certain period where there's a high demand,
right?
To either for a ride or to get food. High demand, everybody want it, and so the price goes up. But because everybody want it, they don't care about the price. They don't care about the delivery fee. They don't care about the ride fee.
They're just ready to get to point A to point B.
Ready to party. And so with those surge fees, you can make bank for as long as the surge is going. And sometimes the surge could be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, you know. And so, you know, it's benefiting pretty much everybody, you know, both contractor and the corporate side.
You know, I was kind of talking about this with my girlfriend the last podcast that we did. On episode 8, and I was talking to her about, you know, me and you and her and people in relatively our age bracket. So you're in your early 30s, I'm in my early 20s, getting ready to be mid 20s, and I see people in that bracket right there. You know, from maybe even the people just about to their 40s to people my age, grew up understanding that, you know, mom and dad go to their 9-to-5 job. That was the norm. We grew up with that. That's the way that we grew up. Everybody goes to their 9-to-5 job. You do this, and you just, at least the middle class, put it that way, the middle class. And that's what we grew up as middle class citizens, me and you both. And that's what you did. You worked for the boss. You go there, and there really wasn't this need for entrepreneurship or anything to go out and say, you know what, I want to change this and I want to go do something on my own. And I see this trend now with people of that age bracket, now that they have gotten older, that they're wanting to flip this script and change and do something different. Why do you think that is, man?
Well, with the economy now, you're going to hear everybody talk about the economy. Back in the day when my parents was going to work, working at 9-to-5, my stepfather did 12 hours a day.
That's rough.
Yeah, it was rough, but you could afford a decent living.
Yeah.
You could afford a decent My mom, like my stepdad worked at Duracell, and I want to say he was making $20-something an hour. And
it used to be really good money back in
the day. That was good money, late 90s, early 2000s. That was good money. My mom chose to work sometimes, and sometimes she didn't, and she could be able to do that because she had 4 kids, and he was the main provider, and he could do that because the economy and prices of food and items was more affordable. So, you know, the rates for the items and your job and how much you paid, you know, was not much of a difference. Now, you know, go 20 years later, the inflation has gone so much, but the money that you're making, it didn't get the same, rate. It didn't rise up like how the inflation is going up. Right. So a lot of people can't afford stuff. You know, a lot of people go to the big cities and it's just too expensive. Rent is just 3 times as much as it used to be. Yeah. Like a little childhood house we used to live on, I asked my mom, how much rent did y'all pay? Oh, we pay like $250, $300.
Ah, man.
A month?
Can't find that these days.
And they was unsure about that. I was like, wow. And this was like late 90s.
Yeah. So you're not going to find stuff like that these days.
But think about it. My stepdad's making $22, $23 an hour. He could afford that. Simple. No problem.
I'm right now at 25, and I still am having trouble getting into our own house. And I like to say that I'm pretty, intelligent-esque with my finances, because I do see that that's a big part of my life. You know, my dad really taught me that for sure, especially as I got older, that, hey, you're going to need to be really smart with your money, because of that reason, inflation's going up. The value of the dollar is going so much farther down, and we can't seem to find a middle ground. And money's out there, and you got to go get it. You got to go claim it somehow, and you got to be smart when you get it, because, you know, you're only going to be able to get so much. And, especially working a 9-to-5 job and everything. And my parents did, and they still do. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's for them. For me, I want to do something different with my life, just a little bit. You know, I want to be able to change the norm of my family and, provide something for them maybe they didn't have when they were growing up. I mean, my dad grew up very poor, very, very poor. My mom, grew up relatively, on shallow times himself. She grew up with 2 parents that worked in the mills. My dad, his grandfather his father was military, and his mom didn't really do too much. Kind of, she had 5 kids. Yeah, he's the middle of the 5, I believe it is. And they were able to do that. The moms were able to stay home, and I think that's originally how this whole thing was supposed to be set up. The men go out there; they're the breadwinners. They go do this. They go out there and earn the money and provide for the family. The mothers stay home, nurture, garnish, and teach the kids the way they should go. And we're able. We are so far away from that nowadays.
Yeah. You have to have a 2-income household. Man.
Absolutely, and not only that, you're having to work so much that somebody else is raising your kids.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem that we see in America today, because our government is going out and, it's election year. We're here. It's 2024. And this is a big one, mm-hmm. And quite frankly, I feel like we have been dealt a really bad hand this time.
Yeah.
All the way around. And I'll go on the record in saying that, I wasn't able to vote in 16. I was not able to vote in 16. I was able to vote in 20, but I wasn't able to vote in 16. Both times, if I could have, and I did for 20, mm-hmm. I would have voted for Trump. Mm-hmm. Both times. Well, I did in 20, but I couldn't in 16. I was 2 years shy of being able to. This year, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do on that ticket.
I'm the same way with you. I'm sitting there like,
I don't.
Whoa, like.
It's so hard, man. And, Biden, on the Biden side of things, and the Democrat Party is just as bad as lost as the Republican Party is.
Everybody's lost.
Yeah, and I don't think Biden can run again because he can't formulate a sentence. Trump can't get out of his own head and can't get out of his own ego for 5 seconds. But yet
these are the front runners.
These are the front runners.
That's what's being pushed.
And I don't get it, dude. Why?
Do you think it's more than just people pushing these? Is there something else going on to get these kind of quality candidates to be the forerunners?
I feel like over the past, we'll say about 10 to 15 years, for some reason, and maybe this goes back farther. Maybe it does. But I can just speak for right now. After Obama was elected the first time, 2008, mm-hmm. It felt like when the 2008, so 2012 election came up, when it was Romney and Obama, it felt like there was a shift in it is if you're either blue or you're red. There's no way. You can't be, impartial. You can't be, I think this guy has good views in this guy has good views in that. It's either you're hardcore blue or you're hardcore red. It's no ifs, ands, or buts. And then 16 really pushed it.
Yeah.
Pushed it big time. 20, we saw what happened there. And that's what we've gotten to now. It's like we've gotten to where we're bitter enemies. As Americans, we're bitter enemies with each other.
Yeah.
And this reminds me a lot of the setup to the Civil War. Very similar. You was either hardcore, you leaned this way, or hardcore, you leaned that way, and it's pitted against each other. There's an old saying, and it's true all the live long day, that, a house divided cannot stand in itself. It can't. There's no possible way. And I don't know what we can do now to change it. I don't get it.
It's like, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's like everything's falling apart for us, like government, and we're over here tit-tocking it up. Mm-hmm. It's almost like we're distracted. You got the international, the Israel thing, the Russian thing. You had COVID, and we're over here on social media,
Afghanistan before.
All that. I was in the Iraq war. Mm-hmm. We got all these major issues. Mexico, the illegal immigrants coming over. Those people from Mexico are coming in daily by the thousands, and I mean,
letting them walk through.
Ain't got no choice. Mm-hmm. They're providing them like little cards to be citizens for a while, and they're providing them shelter and water and food
for free.
And they're people all the way up in New York, Texas, California, and they're just here.
Let's talk about that for a second. So, I mean, let me think. Okay, so one of the biggest things that was widely hated back in 2016, what was Trump's biggest thing? Let's build a wall.
Build a wall.
Build a wall. That was his biggest thing. That was his biggest slogan. I'm going to build the wall and we're making America great again. We're going to protect ourselves and stay within the confines of America. He started it. It didn't end up getting finished, but he did start it. Mm-hmm. And I think when the Biden administration come down, I think they started tearing it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think that wall should have been built and kept?
No, I don't think it should have been built. We was doing good. We knew how to manage it the way we've been managing it. You know, right now Biden just letting everybody in. Mm-hmm. The policy he has now, and you know the little law that was about to come in that the Republicans struck down or whatever was going to manage that better or whatever, but they struck it down. But the Republicans the ones that asked for it. I forget what the law was, but it was to control the border.
What you're talking about,
yeah, it was to control the border, and Republicans struck their own thing down. So I'm like, why? What is going on? But the way we've been managing it was fine. You know, things we could have did better. I couldn't tell you how much better we could have, what strategy we could have had to make that better. Yeah. You know, because at the end of the day, those same businesses are using those immigrants to run their business. You know, who's on those farms? It's Mexicans. I'm sorry to say, that's the truth.
Oh, no, it's absolutely true.
Who's at Home Depot? Who's building these houses? Who's doing this and that you know, the average American doesn't want to do because they want entrepreneurship. They don't want to do those jobs. But you got these Mexicans, they don't care. They'll go and do it day in, day out. But so you want to keep them out, you know, when you're benefiting off of those kind of laborers, and you can pay them under the table and you don't have to pay them as much, you know, and you're benefiting off of it. So the way we had it, you know, we was managing it. And we could have sat down and came up with a better law and took our time to make it better. Building up the wall was just a circus. And a wall, like how much money was it going to take? And who was going to get paid to pay for it? Mexico? No, you're not. So
that was a bold maneuver.
Right.
Give them credit.
You're not going to get
that's a bold maneuver.
Those cartels in Mexico weren't going to let you do that. No. So who's going to pay for it? Us.
I'm actually glad you brought up the cartels, because I think they play a huge part in this. Because obviously we know that, you know, cartels run drugs in and out of this country. You know, at one point in time it was weed. What did we do? We legalized weed. Just about I think almost every state in the union has legalized, except for just a few. I think South Carolina is still one of them.
Yeah, South Carolina. And they ain't gonna budge.
No, they probably won't, to be honest with you. I think a few states, I think ultimately, given time, they probably will. But I think a lot of, and I want to get your opinion on this, see what you think about this. But let's talk conspiracy theory, but let's also talk a little bit of fact that, you know, cartel money runs deeper than just Mexico into the southern tip of the United States. It also runs into Washington as well. And there's people benefiting off of that. Do you think there's a little bit of, you know, I'm trying to keep what's coming in because it helps with, you know, feeding money into America? Not only that, pharmaceutical companies and different companies like that. I think that's why, you know, we don't see maybe the legalization of some of these drugs like maybe we should. And I say that kind of sparingly because, you know, one of the biggest things in the world, and it's a big, you see opium crises and opioids and everything. Fentanyl. It's a huge one right now. But these pharmaceutical companies, you know, people will go and have episodes and they'll give them these top tier drugs like lickety split. It's money cycling into the monster. How do you think we stop that? Or is there any way of stopping it at this point in time? Because I mean it's a hard question.
I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna be general with it. It's the American way. We're not like other countries where they, you know, get like free health care, because that's what you're talking about. It's health care. We don't do the free health care. It's about the money, and we're never going to get free health care because they're not going to stop that money coming in. So pharmaceutical companies got their hands tied on and all these drugs and all these over-the-counter medicines and this, that, and the third. I mean, they was in charge of COVID, and guess how much money they made off of that? They're going to keep making their money, and they're going to do whatever it is they need to do to keep that money flowing in. So where you're tying in from with the cartels bringing in these drugs, they're bringing more than weed. It's the cocaine.
Oh yeah, they've switched
the heroin, all these other drugs, and now you got the drug running, whether it's legal or not. Drugs runs this country. Sorry, that's the truth.
It is.
The pharmaceutical companies know, the cartels know, everybody else don't want to believe it, but they know.
Mm-hmm.
Drugs is running this country. And then you got these guys that, up in the office, up in these positions, they know it too. And you never know what backdoor deal that's going on. And you got these pharmaceutical companies backing these candidates up. Why? Because they got so much money.
Yeah.
Healthcare will never be free, and they will always be loaded.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you want to get campaign money, when you need to move up into a position, when you want to try to run for president or whatever office, go get you a pharmaceutical company to back you up, or go get some rich guy that's got his hands tied into the pharmaceutical company, because money and these drugs run this country.
Or if you're a tight end for a football team and you want to take a shot from Pfizer, you'll get you a girlfriend. Don't you love it? No, I think there's two sides to this story when it comes to the border crisis. There are people in Mexico that see how it's ran and see that it's a danger. I mean, Mexico's turned into a very dangerous place.
Yeah.
And purely based off of these cartels running this place, because the cartels run Mexico. That's just what it is. And they're all battling and pulling for leadership. It's just like out there in the Middle East, warlords that run that place, man. That the Middle East hasn't been ran by a legitimate government in quite some time, and every government they've tried has always failed because it's nothing but a warlord territory. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, we can go on down the list here. But there are people in Mexico that legitimately want to come to America for what we call the American dream, to be able to live in a land that is free. And, as much as, there is wrong with America, America is still that. They are the land of the free, and, a place that you can go and raise your kids and prosper. There is still that. We've just got a lot of problems, and we've got to fix that. And I think one of the biggest problems that we have is that we as Americans, and especially our government, do know that we are exactly what I just said. And our form of democracy has worked. Think about the monarchs that used to run the world back in the day, back in the British days, and the Napoleonic days, and things the Holy Roman Empire, the Roman Empire for that matter. Think of those monarchs and how they each one crumbled. The French Revolution, that was a huge one. French monarch, absolute monarchs, they all fell. And when America was established, it set the standard, and it is still set the standard.
Yes.
And then you fast forward all the way to World War II. World War II takes place. After World War II, for some reason, America got the idea of, well, since we just do it better than everybody, let's dabble our hands in that. And we're seeing that all over the world. Us with Ukraine right now. That's a big one. I do not believe we need to be in Ukraine as much as we are right now.
Yeah.
We don't need to be feeding them these billions and billions of dollars right now. We don't need to be doing that. We need to be taking care of home. We need to be taking care of our border, taking care of our healthcare system, taking care of the inflation prices, and worrying about what we're doing in the States to better the citizens of America. And I feel like we've gotten away from that.
Mm-hmm. And
I don't know why. What do you think at this point in time we can do to change that?
Man, that's a big question, because there's a lot of stuff tied to that. As American people, the politically correct answer is vote the right person in But when you don't really have much to vote on,
you ain't got a clear answer.
It's hard to change that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, America does what they do because they want to be in power. America does what they do because it's money. Mm-hmm. There's money out there to get. You know, so it's very hard as an American citizen to look and say, how can that change when the votes really don't matter? The whatever president going to come in is going to keep up the same, you know, circus that's going on. We always, since I've been in the military, we've been dibbled and dabbled in Iraq and Afghanistan and now Ukraine and all that, in different countries, you know, in everybody's business. Why? Because they can, like you going to your point, they can do that. And we want to set a standard, say, hey, do it our way, mm-hmm. or whatever. And then on the other side is money tied into everything. Wars equals money. Mm-hmm. America can profit off of wars, or whatever. They're investing so much in Ukraine, and guess what? The return is going to be phenomenal. So, I mean, it's hard to sit there and give you an answer as a lowly American citizen. Our whole system, our whole way of thinking needs to change. We need to fix home. Yeah. And that's where our focus needs to be at. Like you said, we need to get out of Ukraine and get out, stop messing with the Middle East and all this stuff and draw it back a little bit and fix home. And once you can fix home, then maybe you can go out and help other countries. But we're in shambles, man. We're a mess.
Yeah. I think the American people are probably the biggest to blame to this because they're not holding anybody accountable. Yeah. Because we as citizens have that right and that power. Yeah. You know, the power was never supposed to be in the government. Truly. It was supposed to be freedom amongst all, you know? And the whole idea was that, you know, we got away from the monarchs when we did because we were tired of being controlled by them. So we made America. That's why the American Revolution happened. That's why we stated the type of Congress that we did and the type of government that we did. So that if, and it even states that if there was ever a time when someone tried to rule over us, we as Americans could fight back. That's why we have the right to bear arms. But for some reason, you know, there are points in time in recent history, I think 9/11, mm-hmm. when Americans came together and an American spirit, a true spirit of America was there. Yeah. A sense of unity was there. Yeah. That we haven't saw in quite some time. And I believe we as Americans, you've been overseas. Yeah. You've saw other worlds. You've saw third world countries. You've saw these things. You can tell a difference in walking the streets of our little town that we live in there, compared to Kuwait or something like that. You've saw the difference.
I've been in the middle of Baghdad.
Right.
And it's like a war zone everywhere you look. I'm like, right. What is going on? It's a complete opposite of just walking down in America in a little neighborhood in Lancaster, South Carolina. It's very different, man.
Yeah, it's extremely different, and we're extremely fortunate to be in that situation. But with that, you know, just like think of a kid that's born into a rich family. When they don't understand what hard times are like, they're spoiled, and they're used to having everything the way they want and how they want. And I think that we've gotten there as Americans. We haven't been threatened with war on this soil probably since the Cuban Missile Crisis, mm-hmm. honestly. You had little snippets, and 9/11 happened. That's the closest we've got to anything happening at home. Mm-hmm. And so when there's no threat and nothing to fear, you start just getting bored, and you start looking for things. And I feel like we're seeing a lot of movements come out of that, you know, whether it be LGBT or whatever it may be, all these different things. I identify as a street pole or a lamp or whatnot, all this stuff. What do you think about that? Are we getting bored as American citizens, and is it because of the lack of war? Or the lack of even a true threat of war? I mean, yeah, there's threats and rumors and all that good stuff, but no real threat has been executed on this country in quite some time. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you're on to something, because it's always been a threat at some point, and America always has come together. The times when, the American Revolution and, we was forming as a country, those people are different from the people of today. Absolutely.
Had something to fight for.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So that's the point we're getting at. They had something to fight for. A lot of these, people now that, I'm of age, you got the younger generation, they don't really know diddly squat about anything, about the struggle, about coming together as a country, being unified. Mm-hmm. They're so distracted with all these other things. And so it might take something happening to us to realize, like, wake up, hey, there's a world outside of what you just pointed, a phone.
Yeah.
There's a whole world. There's people that's trying to live and live, a better quality of life, period. Bare minimum. And that's a threat to everybody in America. You got China over here that, is 3 times as big as America. That could go crazy one day and say, let's declare war on America.
It's an enemy, and people don't realize it's an enemy. I mean, even our biggest brands, we're NBA fans.
Yeah.
But how many people how many teams do they sponsor out there in China? How many players have went from the NBA to China? How many, times as NBA players in the NBA community went over to China? That's what we used to like to call, people still throw out the word communist, but that's not really what it is. It's more like a totalitarian socialism that's over there.
Yeah.
That is an ideological style that, we're not friends with, and they're not friends with us. They don't care for us. They don't like us. North Korea is another one. Russia, pretty much the same exact way. These countries don't care for us, but people are kind of blinded to the thought of there being enemies out there. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because if you're standing right next to your enemy and you don't know it, it's the same as, standing right next to a snake. Eventually you're going to get bit.
Right.
Something's going to happen. You're going to get bit. And, especially with, you hear of, military communications and things like the Team U app, that being something, and how they, breach data in there. TikTok was a big one. Everybody talked about TikTok there when it first started coming out, and reading the terms of service. If you went in there and looked at like their terms of service and everything, that everybody just clicks accept and keeps on going, right?
Right.
You get in there and start looking around a little bit, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, time out. Let me take a second gander at this.
Yeah.
All this, comm stealing and the spy balloon that went over the top, and all this stuff. People are kind of oblivious to that. They just think, oh, balloon in the sky. No. What's going on here? What is, the idea of, maybe there is a threat from an enemy somewhere. Yeah. And I feel like we're kind of numb to that. We've been so fortunate that we're just nonchalant about everything.
That's what it is. We've been, fortunate enough to not have any threats, and it's like a double-edged sword. Like, you need to have the threats to stay on your toes.
Yeah.
And that's what has happened. Lives have been lost, and that's the nature of it. But you need those kind of threats, with the new generation coming in to say, hey, this is real. We are a country for real, and we need to be unified. We have enemies, we have threats out there, and if we don't wake up and pay attention and do what we need to do as a country to prepare ourselves, it's going to take us over.
Yeah, because that is absolutely right.
We've been challenged before. We have been challenged before, and other countries have, shed blood on American soil. We've been through all that, so. We, instead of, waiting till something happens, we need to wake up and say, hey, let's do preventative maintenance. Let's do what we need to do as a country. Let's be unified and say, hey, we let's protect ourselves and do what we need to do to prosper or whatever.
Well, you was in the military for, would you say,
about 6 or 7 years.
Okay. Yeah. 6 or 7 years. So you've been through that. You've been through the basic. You've been through everything. You've been over in Baghdad. You've been to Kuwait. You've been all of these places over there. You spent time overseas for a little bit. Do you think, let's think about today's generation and what we're seeing and some of the things we've already mentioned already. Do you, as a former soldier, feel confident with the men and women that we are sending over right now that are coming up in the ranks? That if a war was really about to break out, do you feel confident in the soldiers in which we are putting on the battlefield right now that are coming up? Just like you were when you were 18.
No, I don't feel as confident.
I don't either.
I don't feel as confident because you got a lot of, you don't have that sense of, it's not really a lot of people that's patriotic anymore.
Mm-mm.
You know, I was a little patriotic. That's kind of some of the reason why I went, because I said I wanted to serve my country. You don't have so much of that. So once you have the mindset, if you don't have the mindset to do it, then you're going to fail, because I had to have a mindset to sit here and train day in, day out. And I had the mindset to grasp what was happening over there before I went over there. We went through all the rigmarole, all the training. It was a year of training before I actually set foot on Iraq.
Yeah.
In Iraq. It was a year of training. And I don't think these kids nowadays, these young people 18 to 25 don't really have that mindset. And then at the same time, the military doesn't have a lot of soldiers in the military as we speak.
Yeah.
Not like it was for me. And then before me, there was plenty more in there. But I think if a war was to actually break out, there would have to be a draft.
Yeah.
There would have to be a draft because there's not enough soldiers. And now who are you drafting? These young kids that's been distracted the whole entire time.
And fed ideological bullshit, basically, in my opinion, by, all these social media platforms. You see all this, so many ideological things. I can't stand, personally, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I can't stand seeing some of the stuff we're seeing out of our schools.
Yeah.
And some of the things that are being taught in our schools. And I go back to it, that it's okay to shapeshift and I want to be a furry man and what. I mean, dude, think about it. Right here in a school local to our town, right here in this little small town in South Carolina that we live in, there was a student that identified, said, I am a cat today. And they got him a litter box. I'm being for real. Got him a litter box.
Okay, but
and they cleaned it out.
He pooped in it?
I guess. They cleaned it out.
That doesn't make sense, though.
Right.
It still doesn't make sense. Just because he identifies doesn't mean you get a litter box.
Well, evidently it does. And there was evidently, my buddy Wes, he works in an area not too far down from here. He said that there was a music teacher down where he works that had it's a music teacher, but he is I don't know what the flippin' call it. It's a fur daddy or something of that. Like, he wears a tail every day. And I mean, in the schools, in a much more hick town than what we live in.
Wow. And
people are having an uproar. Like, this is the stuff our kids are being taught and shown. And stoicism, and being a man, and being a woman as a woman it was intended, and a man how he was intended, and being stoic and providing. All of that stuff is now looked as toxic masculinity, and it is thrown out and it is shunned upon. The things that we grew up being taught from our parents are being thrown out of the window.
Yep.
Why?
It was a little fire that got bigger and bigger and bigger. What's that word? Inclusivity or whatever. Include everybody.
Yeah.
And if they could be included, if they could do what they want, why can't I? Oh, hold up. Why can't I? Whoa, why can't I? It just blew up, man.
I think it's a call for attention, man.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the pharmaceutical company. People nowadays have a problem. Oh, something happens. The first thing I want to run to is a drug.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my head hurts a little bit. Let me run straight to the Tylenol. Something happened. Let me run straight to this. Let me run straight to that. Let me go to the thing that's going to make me feel good. Instead of toughing it out and understanding there's going to be a little adversity at times, just like when people face adversity these days, they just want to give up. Mm-hmm. Well, screw it. I ain't going to mess with it. Problem solving. Me and you worked together.
Yeah.
We worked in a little small store in which you had to problem solve.
Yeah.
What's one of the biggest things I got pissed about with some of the people that we worked with? Nobody wanted to problem solve. Hey, can you do this for... No, I'm not going to do that for you. The reason I'm not going to do that for you, I will stand and help you learn it, but you're going to do it. Yeah. I'm not going to do it for you. And I feel like that right there is a big problem because people nowadays in this country are being told, just go home, have some kids. Do you think we'll pay for you? You ain't got to do nothing. There's nothing there. Everything's being handed to people and done for them, and they do not have to do anymore.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing the blowback for it. Another thing, and this is a theory. I want to get your thoughts on this. So I'm gonna tell you the theory, and you tell me what you think. Let's say you're a person, and you're a person in power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're a head of a government. Well, let's say you're trying to get a little big for your britches. And what you really want is, I want to take over this country. But how can I do it when I got people that kind of think for themselves and they're pretty tough and everything. So let me think about this. What if reason we're seeing a lot of this is because, and all this being widespread mainstream media posting this stuff out, and it's really being pushed all throughout, it's even talked about it from our government heads, is that maybe, just maybe, if I want to take over a country, what is the demographic I'm looking for that's going to challenge me? Well, probably anywhere military-aged males, 18 to 35.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I can change their ideological standpoint and get them to not, as they're growing up, being told, being masculine is that's toxic, and all the things, being tough. You don't have to understand or do these things. People can do this for you, and kind of castrate the male.
Yeah. Call it what it is.
Eventually, you get to a point, they're no longer a problem.
Right.
There you go. What do you think?
I'm tracking, man, because like you said, in a general aspect, we're being castrated. Yep. The younger generation is being castrated, and we're going to be opened. We're going to be left open, and then they're going to attack.
Yeah.
They're going to attack. Like we've been saying this whole time, a lot of the younger generation are distracted. They don't really know what's going on in this country. Then we're worried about money because we can't even live properly.
Worry about your feelings.
And then you can't feelings, and then everybody identify. There's so much distraction in our little lives that we don't know what's going on outside this country that could threaten the way we live, period.
And I think the saddest part is countries see it.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Africa right now, I dare you. Think any of them are wondering what gender they are?
No.
Think any of them are wondering what gender role they have?
No.
A man knows, hey, I got to get up and I got to go to work and I have to provide and I got to be smart with what I do, because if I don't get to eat today. Think about that right now. Think about people in Russia right now. Same thing. And even leaders, Turkey. I think the Turkey leader, not Turkey. Was it India? One of them over there was even talking about how, like, what is America doing? Alive in a massive press conference said this. It's like, what is America doing? It's America's not as strong as it once was. We all know it. People in the outside world know it and understand. And with a conflict like we have right now in Israel, who knows if something really sparks up over there and it gets widespread, because all it's going to take is a couple of things to happen. One country, I think if it took one extra country going in and saying, you know what, we're in this now and we pick a side. Whatever side they pick, it's going to be a domino effect and everybody's going to get sucked into that thing. And here we are back in 1940s again.
I mean, we're too free now. That's what it is. We're just too free.
Everybody's gonna take a shot at it somewhere.
We're too free. Now you're an American. You can do anything you think you can do.
Yeah.
Anything you think you can do. There's no morals. There's no standards that you abide by. There's no guidance.
Mm-hmm.
hey, I don't have to listen to you. You don't even have to listen to your parents if you don't want to.
No, they even have rules these days where you can call in on your parents, call the cops on your parents and things like that. Yeah, we're getting into a lawless society, bro. It's coming. It's coming, and it's coming fast. So
I don't know if I want to be here when that happens, like in this lifetime. But
yeah, I'm with you there.
It's sad, man.
I'm with you. It is sad. You're seeing the slow deterioration of time, and you look at great societies that came before us and see how they fell. Mm-hmm. It's like the Roman Empire. How did it fall? From within. And if we're not careful, that's exactly the route that we're heading, and somebody somewhere is going to take advantage.
Yeah.
So I think we as Americans need to stand up and understand, number one, history. I think that's huge because history may not repeat itself, but it definitely does rhyme. Yeah. I like that. And you got to be. And here's the thing. You can see similarities in everything. You understand why the world is the way it is. That's why I love history. You can see the world, why it is the way that it is right now through events that's happened through time. Each event leads to the next domino. This thing is going to lead to this. This thing's going to lead to this. Without this happening, this doesn't happen. It all blends together. That's why I love history, dude. Absolutely love history. I want to get back up to D.C. sometime. That's so fun, dude. Have you ever been to D.C.?
Yeah.
Dude. Did you go with, like, the schools? Or?
Yeah, the school.
Oh,
man. The high school. I was on the band.
Oh, man. I absolutely love that place. I've been up there once. It was in 2012. I went with the Buford Middle and went up there. This is when I'm in middle school, dude. 7th grade. Nathan rolling around. Because I was much wider at that point in time. But... No, dude, that was absolutely. I was getting to see all that stuff. That is one thing I've definitely got into a whole lot recently. Is like the idea of traveling, seeing different things. I think I got Ariel to really thank for that a lot, honestly, because I wasn't doing too much of that beforehand. Little small things, but nothing like I'm doing now.
Right.
What other like you've been to Afghanistan?
No, I've been to Iraq.
I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. What other places? I know you said you went to Ireland. You had to go fly to Ireland.
You had to fly to Ireland. Then I had to fly to Kuwait.
And what other places have you been to, man? I think you went on a cruise not that long ago.
Yeah, man. I went on a cruise back in September, man, and that's the first time on a cruise.
I haven't been on one myself.
You need to go, man. It's an experience.
I've heard. I have definitely heard.
When you look down in that water and see nothing but water, you're just like, wow. This is life. This is what it. I've never been here in this part of the world, and I'm here, and it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. It's scary a little bit, but it's exciting, And then we went to Puerto Rico. We went to what's the islands called, man?
Like the Caribbean or something like that.
Yeah, it's down in the Caribbean, but I forgot what the island. St. Martin.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. St. Martin, St. Thomas down there too?
It's down there too, near there.
Yeah.
But we went to St. Martin, Puerto Rico, and something else. I forgot another island. But I mean, their way of life, man. When you get to talking to the locals, it's just different. Mm-hmm. And you wonder like, well, how did you get here? And how did you choose this? Why do you stay here? A lot of reasons for tourism because you make a lot of money, but it's just different. A different way of thinking, a different way of life. And it's just I'm happy over here in America, but they're happy where they're at too. True. They're fine. Mm-hmm. And they've made a life. There was an American guy. We took a water taxi, and we was at St. Martin, and we was on one part of the island. And instead of going through the rest of the island to get to another part, we took a water taxi, and from one part of the island to the next. And the guy, he's been there for 12 years, and that was his job. Just guiding us on the water taxi and talking about the history of St. Martin. And he's like, I came here 12 years ago. And, for the tourism job, and I just loved it. And I stay here, for a while. I'm from Florida. But I came here, and this is where my home is. I live here, and I love it. And I was like, wow, like just a person who took charge of their life and said, hey, this is what I want to do, and I'm enjoying it. And, of course, St. Martin had the most beautiful water, man. Beautiful water, clear water.
Is that the place, or maybe I'm thinking of St. Thomas, is that the place where, like, it has the beach that's right next to the airport landing strip?
No. I don't know what place that is.
I don't know if that was St. Martin, maybe St. Thomas, something along those lines.
They do have an airport that's right in the water, actually, because our boat was right beside the strip. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what strip is that? And it's where they said, well, this is where planes land or whatever. So they do have a airport kind of thing on the water, which is crazy.
Yeah, I know there's a beach there that if it has a chain link fence up, but like the airstrip's right there. And so when the planes come in to land, they land basically right there on you. It's freaking nuts. And then as they're getting ready to take off, they sit right there and they get the jets start rolling and spinning, getting them up and, accelerating them a little bit. And like the wind on it, everybody likes to stand behind it, try to get blown back and everything. Because they say it's really it's a lot. And the force off of those jets before they take off is nuts. But I didn't know if that was St. Martin or if that was St. Thomas or anything like that.
Yeah, they had not commercial airplanes, but like private airplanes that come on that one. So, but it was cool, man. It was just I'm glad I got to experience that. Because I've never have. So I think we're supposed to be going on a cruise this year. So hopefully I go out there again and enjoy it.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was looking at Royal Caribbean. They just come out with a brand new ship out there. I think it's Icon, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe Icon.
Yeah.
I've looked at that thing a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I've
tempting.
It's very tempting. I've never been on one, and I really want to go on one.
Go all out, man. That way your experience is just bar none.
Yeah. Great. When I honestly, dude, see, that's one thing. When I do a vacation, I don't do it lightly. I like to, and I'll spend a little bit more money, but I like to be able to experience it the way I want to experience it. I want to be able to see the nice things and I'm honestly that way with anything. If I'm going to go do something, I want to go do it. I want to go do it nice. I want to kind of live it, a little bit. Going to Philadelphia right here in 5 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
For WrestleMania, Philadelphia, and got a hotel on the water, bro. On the water, nice. Right there on the lake, walking distance to Independence Hall and everything. I can go see the Liberty Bell. I can go see Independence Hall. I kind of want to go see and we talked about it a little bit. I want to go see, there's a prison there. It's Al Capone's prison, when he was there, and his cell's there. I want to go see that. I want to go do that stuff, man. I'm in Philly. I want to go see all that stuff, enjoy WrestleMania and have a good time. But dude, I'm really... definitely got into traveling a whole lot more. Yeah. Any place you could go in the world, where would you go?
I want to go to Japan, man. I want to go to Japan and see what
I was not expecting that answer from you.
Well, back in the day, my stepfather had a job opportunity. Mm-hmm. And he was going to be like a manager, supervisor over there in Japan. Duracell had Japan, was locked in with Japan. He was going to go over there to do that. And it meant taking his whole family, uprooting his whole family and going to Japan. Well, he had the opportunity, but he was like, he didn't want to leave his mother behind, and he didn't want us to, to mess our lives up like that. So he declined the offer. But, literally, we had a chance to go to Japan. So I kind of like, I want that get back. I want to actually go.
Because been the modern day Karate Kid,
right? You never know what I would have been doing, man.
Oh no!
Also want to go to Hawaii. Never been to Hawaii, so
yeah,
I want to go.
I want to see the volcanoes out there. I ain't gonna lie. I kind of want to see that more than anything else. I'm fascinated with volcanoes. I absolutely love them. I think they're freaking awesome. That was like a big.
Just so happened when Nathan's out there, they just start erupting.
Yeah, maybe they're just waiting on me. Get that ring of fire going out there.
Yeah.
No, man. I've always wanted to see a volcano. I've always been kind of, every time I see like the lava rock bead bracelets that you see, I always get fascinated by those things. I don't know why. Just something I always have. I used to draw them all the time in school. I always get library books and check them out at that school, at the school library, and see that. I'd have to say for me though, kind of back and forth between two places, really, but either New Zealand or Alaska.
Alaska?
Yeah, dude.
Why Alaska?
The wildlife up there and some of the natural landscapes that you see up there. I wouldn't mind seeing the Northern Lights. I don't know why I thought about that, but that made me think about that. But bald eagles and moose and just the wildlife scene up there is nuts, dude. I absolutely love it. I'm kind of a wildlife freak. I wouldn't mind going to an Amazon rainforest either, but I've listened to many people that have went and have been and that live there, and we and our bodies are not adapt to that world. It's a whole other world in the Amazon, dude. I was listening to one guy. God, I can't remember his name to save my life, but he lives there, and he always wanted to go save the rainforest. Every time he saw that, and you saw, plenty of things like that. Like there's miners that have went up there and cleared out sections. You can look at it on Google Maps and see like sections that have been just cleared and gone and destroyed for mining. And the international companies, Russia, China, other places around the world have come there. But he was fascinated with snakes, anacondas, right? And he was telling the story. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast. Look this up. But he was telling the story about the time that he was going to look for anacondas, and he had a guy that he had met when he first went over there, and he knew the lay of the land, and he was like, okay, where are the anacondas? And he said, he saw an anaconda one day. Because he was first off, he's like, you never see anacondas. They're elusive. They're not there. And honestly, anacondas are not a very, people like to depict them. We saw the anaconda movies. We saw like they depict them as this menace to society and this nuisance and this very predatory animal. They're not that at all. As a matter of fact, they're extremely elusive. They act just as any other snake does. They want to be left alone. They try and stay away from people. And Amazon rainforest, it's pretty easy to do, but they like to stay away from people as much as possible. So they were looking for them, looking for anacondas. And he said, well, if you want to find them, you have to go upriver. And he was like, well, what's the name of it? He says, no. There's no name for it. You're just out. You're out in the Amazon. Well, they went up one evening. They went out, and they were up there. And sure enough, they were looking around and got to a section where it was a place called the Floating Islands. And really what it was swamp, and there's forest below you. The water's so high. So there's forest below you, but there were like these floating land masses that were there. You could walk on them, but they were floating real thick. And he was hopping on there, and it was in the middle of the night, and they had flashlights, and he saw this thing move. And he said, what is that? He said, dude, he says, I'm not joking when I say this. He says, the only measurements I have is that when I looked at him and he moved, he saw like this massive, wide thing just start moving. Huge. I mean, just this width.
Wow.
And he said, the guy beside him, he said, that's an anaconda. He said, there's no way that's an anaconda. He says, that's an anaconda. He says, what? Things wider than me and you combined.
Wow.
But sure enough, he said the first thing I wanted to do was jump on it. Because he's caught many anacondas and snakes like that. So he did. He jumped on it. He says, the only measurement I have, he's a little bit shorter than you. I think he's like 5'10", something like that. So not the biggest wingspan in the world. But he says, the only measurement that I have is when I caught the snake, I jumped on its head and I wrapped my arms around it. But when he did, he said he couldn't touch his fingertips. His fingers could not touch.
Wow.
And the snake, he said, dude, the snake could have turned around and just eaten me. But he said the first thing they do, because this is how they are, they're elusive. They bolted. It bolted. And when it did, it just drug him with it. He didn't care. He just wanted to get away. And he started going down. He come off this landmass, was going down into the water. And sure enough, daggum, he says, I was starting to go underwater, and he says, I just let go. I said, I'm not going underwater with this thing. And I kind of grabbed onto the side of the landmass to hold on to something, but he kept his hand on the snake. And he says, dude, it had to be all bit. He says, I've measured and everything by how fast he was moving and everything. It had to be at least about 25 feet.
What in the world?
It's amazing the creatures that are on this planet.
That's
bro.
The Loch Ness Monster. That's not no anaconda.
See,
Goodness, man.
That's why I think I love nature so much, is because you really do not know what is out there.
Right.
You don't. And it's amazing to see like grizzly bears, or any type of bear, Kodiak bears, grizzly bears, polar bears, how fast those suckers move. Mm-hmm. They're huge. I mean, 600 to 1,000 pounds, and they're moving like friggin' roadrunners, just booking it. And there ain't no, I mean, it's crazy. You know, even though, yeah, we are at the top of the food chain, let the circumstances be right. No, you're not. You're getting got, bro.
Oh, goodness.
You're getting got. So, whenever you get a chance, let's do a safari hunt.
Yeah. Let's go.
I honestly want to do that. I want to go out there in Africa and do one of them safari things, dude.
Yeah.
Just go out there and get an open top Toyota that's been, it's probably about an 80s model Toyota, and just drive around out there and wait for the lions to show up. That'd be awesome, dude.
Yeah, I don't know about awesome. It's just, whoo, wait for the lions to show up. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, dude.
Keep us alive.
Yeah. I want to see, I do want to see like different animals. I do want to see some like, I would like to see a lion, a tiger, out of the wild. Be extremely hard to find these things, but I would like to do that. That'd be pretty cool.
At least one time, right?
Yeah, at least one time.
Yeah,
at least once. Kind of, I'd like to see some different kinds of snakes. I'd love to go down to Florida personally and go see alligators. I'm not going. I go out.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Go out in the little wind boats and get out there and in the middle of the night and turn on the flashlight and look for the glowing eyes. Dude, that'd be freaking sweet, dude. I've watched a lot of Gator Boys. I'm not gonna lie. I've watched a lot of them. I love them things so much, dude.
Oh, goodness.
Man, I appreciate you coming out here, dude. We've had ourselves a good old time. We'll have to do this a little bit more, man. This is only episode 9, so I got a long way to go.
Yeah, man. Congratulations to you, though.
Oh, yeah, man. Absolutely loving it. Making most of what I've got here. But I'm absolutely enjoying it, dude. So anyway, man, I appreciate it. Thank you all for being here, bud.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.